What's up, guys? Welcome back to Star Trek Sodium. Now, this is the 5th episode in a row, which starts with the word the. The Hunted has the Enterprise come in contact with someone who may or may not be a dangerous villain. It was during the filming of The Hunted that the Dr. Pulaski actor supposedly visited the set to see how things were going and to catch up with old faces. At first, Rick Berman enjoyed having her back on set, but the more she made rude comments about everyone, the more it became a problem. She was heard by production staff commenting that Riker's beard looked stupid and that Dr. Crusher and her stupid son were a waste of space, while laughing to herself and shaking her head, like a mad parrot under a Colorado sun. Sometimes the truth couldn't be further from the truth.
You are dangerous. They're only victims. You made them what they are.
Art really became a reality when LeVar Burton actually became blinded by enriched sand on the beach during a Sunday trip with his cousin Tim. A chance to grab a sweet suntan on the day before filming started on The Hunting. The dry, enriched sand had blown into his Hensing eyes, and it was pure luck that his friend and part-time acting companion, Armin Shimmerman, happened to be working on a shift on the beach as a lifeguard at the time. When LeVar's cousin Tim refused to leave the beach to walk LeVar home safely, the kind gentleman Armin Shimmerman left his duties on the beach and walked Burton back to his crib, where he could carefully wash out the dry sand like some kind of vigilant anti-sand washer. The story goes that Patrick Stewart had to be held back when young Will Wheaton burped in his face while walking past. Things quickly reached boiling point between the captain and the ensign. The Worf actor had to actually step in between them and stop the bald Shakespearean from smacking the cheeky young Wheaton right in the face, possibly hard enough to dislodge a couple of teeth and potentially giving him life-altering scratches, as the Picard actor constantly refused to trim his fingernails ever since seeing a documentary about how beautiful they could be once long. A staunch vegetarian ever since she'd been on a burger retreat back in 1985, the actress Marina Citrus found this a challenging episode, as the episode title, The Hunted, alluded to hunting, an act which can lead to a creature being stalked and killed. She wasn't the only actress that found the episode a little challenging, though. Gates McSomething found it hard to film The Hunted, as this story was a little too close to home. 10 years ago, her father had been sent to prison for a crime he didn't commit. This echoed the storyline of the episode and brought the soapy actress to tears when she read the plight of the central character, Roga Danar. Making it to the end of production proved to everyone that she really was a brave lady with the courage of a lion and the heart of a weasel. We all know that this episode is called The Hunted, but did you even know that a few other episode names were floated around before the name was finalized in the Star Trek history? The Hunted. Other names in consideration for this episode include The Hunting, Stop the Children, The Pen Hunt, Star Trek Blunder, Space Tropper, Tropper Hag, Hunting the Troppers, and Tropper Tower Starfish Nightmare. The data robot actor, Spiner, famously would only drink hot water, and it had to be heated in a microwave, not in a kettle, or in some kind of silly futuristic pot that gets hot by itself with no explanation. The reason he demanded to have his water microwaved for several minutes is because he'd read in a special book that microwaving water ensures pure ionic diffusion. During the filming of The Hunted, young Will Wheaton had ruined the studio's microwave with one of his cruciate pranks. By the end of the day, after having had no drinks at all, Spiner's lips were visibly dry, like a couple of desert bones on the front of his face. Paramount Strawberry, James Stanley Van, was visiting the set during the filming of The Hunted to ensure that everything was going okay after the previous week's filming was relocated to the Rivermead studio in Oregon. The only thing he noticed was that even though the bridge set had been put back together correctly after being relocated, the captain's chair was actually missing. It was accidentally left at the Rivermead studio. That's why the only footage of Captain Picard with his chair in this episode was of old archive footage and early CGI. Marina Citrus had been busy lobbying for a beauty contest amongst the actors as a way for them to all let off steam and have some fun during the summer of 1990, knowing full well that she was the apple of Rick Berman's eye, and that she would easily win the beauty contest but would no doubt be judged by Rick Berman himself, with his greasy hands and glassy eyes. Now those of you with eagle eyes would have noticed that this is the only episode where Guinan appears without her giant hat, or galapkin as it's known. That's because she'd taken it to the set of the feature film Ghost that she was filming at the time to show it off to her co-stars Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. Somehow it had gotten splattered with pottering clay, and so it was left at the dry cleaners. Star Trek wardrobe department tried to mock up a temporary giant hat for Guinan, but they concluded that what they put together was ridiculous. Therefore, Guinan in this episode is almost unrecognisable and looks more like Whoopi Goldberg. Thanks ever so much for listening to my fascinating facts all about Star Trek Next Generation Season 3, Episode 11, The Hunted. Please subscribe for plenty more great facts all about Star Trek from the different places in Star Trek. And you can subscribe and like it and leave a comment and all that general stuff that everybody typically does on videos. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time for more terrific facts that you didn't even know. Ta-ta!